I know what it feels like to be in your 20s, working hard, feeling broke, and feeling behind. And then you wonder to yourself, am I doing something wrong? The truth is, most people don't figure this thing out in their 20s. I mean, even in your 30s or your 40s. But this video isn't just advice. It's a roadmap, and it's legit. Almost a path I wish someone told me sooner. So I'm in my 20s and I talk to people within my generation. And oftentimes I hear, you're only in your 20s once, or I'll figure it out later, or even this is your time to have fun. Now, I do believe in having fun, enjoying life, and meeting people, but there's definitely a balance that you should maintain. So the perfect ratio in your 20s to lock in would be 80-20, meaning 80% is when you're serious and 20% is when you're having fun. And let's say that it's on a weekly basis. You can choose to do whatever your 20% desires, but the 80% is what we're talking through in this video. But before we jump in, I do want to say that I am an advocate for having fun. Now, many argue that when you go on vacation, the ratio flips or even it's non-existent, meaning 100% should be fun. And I do agree on that. All right, now let's go ahead and jump right in. The first way that a lot of you feel stuck is that you feel pressure to be way further ahead than where you are. And that brings me to my first point. You're not behind. You're just early in the game. A lot of us scroll on social media. We see influencers. We work in companies where people are much more further ahead. We all suffer through lifestyle comparison where we compare our income and also our finances. But let's not forget, we're only in our 20s. And to be honest, we don't have a lot of stuff figured out anyway. That's why it's so important to have mentors, because mentors have the ability to compress knowledge in a small period of time to help you make better decisions moving forward. But you're not alone. We all struggle. We all make mistakes. And there were so many mistakes that I've made within my 20s that I regret. But if you look through my channel, you can see all the mistakes that I've made so that you can make decisions moving forward. But just as a reminder, you're not behind, you're just early in the game. So here's your action plan. Get a group of mentors who you admire. Take one day at a time. Don't let lifestyle comparison haunt you. And don't forget to still enjoy life. Now, this brings me to the second way that you feel stuck. Your habits matter more than your income right now. I'm not just talking about your paycheck. We all have to work our jobs. Your paycheck is for stability, but the habits that you do now matter way more than you think. Because what you do at work is you're building your brand. And 9 times out of 10, people remember that brand that you present. Even if your job's easy, even if you hate your boss, or the way that you prepare for meetings, or even negotiate your salary, those are habits. And so putting them into good practice now will help you move forward. Now, depending on your goals, I can't tell you which habits to specifically have. All I'm saying is establish habits that best meet your goals. So we'll paint the picture for me. My YouTube channel is my side hustle. I have a habit of waking up at 5 a.m. every day. Yes, unfortunately, even on the weekends. But I established that to get some YouTube work done before I go to my full-time job. And I also use that time to go to the gym, or I'll catch up on personal stuff, I'll clean up my apartment, or I'll find ways to be productive. And then at 7:30 a.m., I'm out. A little bit earlier in this video, I talked about having mentors. So another habit I have is growing that mentorship-based relationship. That means I have periodic check-in with all my personal advisors and personal board of directors, and I add time to their calendars and then grow that relationship. And then the third habit that I have that's related to YouTube is I record my videos. I know you're thinking, well, Josh, you have to do that anyway. But trust me, when motivation dips down and discouragement is high, it's very difficult to record videos. But as of the recording of this video, I've been doing YouTube for 4 months now. And at this point, it has turned into a habit. Like, it would literally kill me if I don't have a backlog of videos uploaded and scheduled ahead. But that's why it's so important to establish habits. And I heard something early in life that it takes 21 days of doing one thing consistently to establish a habit. And I encourage you to do so yourself, because as I stated earlier, you can take that with you for a lifetime. And the only thing that changes is the actual thing that you're doing. And before we jump into the next way, I have a bonus habit that you can take with you. And that bonus habit is every time you watch my videos, you can give it a like. And then if you're new to the channel, you can go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. And that habit right there, you won't regret. All right, now let's jump into the third way. I can't harp on this enough. Turn your free time into free game. A lot of you people are farting around. Y'all need to lock in. Y'all talk about how you're gonna lock in. You talk about how you're gonna make your bag, but y'all are all too distracted. Y'all are distracted on what's out here. Y'all are too focused. Y'all are here dating too much and wasting money. And you're wasting your nights and weekends. In our 20s, we have maximum energy that we should use to be productive. This is one of my favorite lines that Alex Hormonzi says. He says, your 9 to 5 isn't killing your dreams. Wasting your 5 to 9 is. And that continues to keep me motivated. I do understand. You get home from work, you're tired, you want to lay down, you want to take a nap, or you have the gym to go to, you have to make dinner, but you can plan your week out. Meaning you can meal prep Sunday evening, you can go to the gym in the mornings, you could clean up your apartment as you go, and you can wake up early so that when you're finished with work, you can go home and start working on your grind. I will warn you, if you grind like this every day of the week and on every weekend, you will get burnt out. That's why it's a delicate balance. But don't try to force it. Don't cram in energy drinks or have a second cup of coffee every day. I would say use 3 nights during the week to focus in your bag, and then use 1 day on the weekend to lock in. That gives you 4 out of the 7 days to stay productive, assuming you have a full-time job. But last point, in our 20s, we have so much energy to burn. We have the mental bandwidth to learn new skills. And unfortunately, but fortunately, this is our time to make mistakes because we're all figuring out this thing together. So the action plan for you is to revisit the steps we just talked about. Now, the 4th way that you feel stuck is you're not surrounding yourself with the right people. What I mean by that is you have to be around people who talk about assets, not outfits. I mean, unless you have a clothing business or you're some way related to the industry, then that's different. But I'm not just talking about people who just talk. I'm talking about people who do. A lot of people suffer from analysis paralysis. That just means that they research or think too much and they prevent themselves from starting. But this one manager early in my career told me this. He said, Josh, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. And that stuck with me because it's true. Now, I know all the time we hear on social media, if you're the smartest one in the room, then you need to get out. Now, I do know where they're coming from. I get what they're saying. They're saying that you should always be evolving. But if you're always focused on yourself and evolving yourself, how do you ever help other people out? But maybe your purpose in that room is to help lift others up. But basically, the 5 closest friends are your peers. Y'all are on the same level. You're all around the same age, plus or minus 5 years. You all don't have to be in the same industry. You have to lift each other up and give each other gems. That's why in your 20s, it's very important to pick these group of individuals. Because when you hang out with the wrong people, they could be a bad influence or even distractions. And here's a bonus tip. If you're in a romantic relationship, your partner matters too, because you need someone that supports your dreams. You need someone that lifts you up and someone that continues to encourages you whenever you're down. Even if you're not married, even if you're dating, that matters. And personally, that's what I prioritize within dating or any relationship, because it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how much wealth your family has. And within the dating context, it doesn't matter how good you look. If we're not shooting towards the same goal or aligning with the same purpose, you're out. I know that sounds harsh, but that just paints the picture for you. I don't know if you're hearing this at the right time, but this is your sign. Now, we're wrapping this up with the last way that you feel stuck, and that is avoiding lifestyle inflation creep. We're all young, we're happy, we're motivated, and then that spills into getting job promotions or even doing side hustles that's becoming successful. And oftentimes we'll upgrade our apartment or we'll upgrade our car, and even we'll take out a date to a bougie restaurant, and then after go to an overpriced cocktail bar, and we'll end up spending $300 or $400 in one night. And even though that's fun, a lot of people make that a habit every week, and then they justify it to themselves like, I deserve this. And yeah, you do deserve it, but don't make it into a habit. And that's not even counting everything else that person has upgraded in their life. So don't try to look rich too soon. Live below your means, budget every penny, invest all the extra that you have in your bank account, and try to avoid upgrading your lifestyle. So me personally right now in my life, I'm focused on making the bag. But I'm still having fun. I'm going on dates, I'm going on vacations, I'm taking day trips, but my expense budget is capped, meaning anything extra, it goes straight to my business account, meaning it's investing in assets that'll eventually pay me later on. Examples will be this digital asset that you're watching right now. So when I get my next promotion, that means everything extra will go straight to my business account. And when YouTube starts paying me through AdSense revenue, I'll keep that money in the same account and it's reinvesting in the business. Because that power play, that right there is how you avoid lifestyle creep and maximize your income. Because once your expenses are so high, it's very difficult to reduce those over time, especially when you start hanging around people that's at a similar lifestyle. I was out one day picking up some food and I saw this one executive in public. Her and I exchanged conversations. And if I had to guess, she probably makes between $1.5 and $2 million a year. And as we were talking, she stated how stuff was so expensive and how she also said that she couldn't afford certain things. And I'm thinking, how in the world can you not afford certain things? After that conversation, I drove home and called one of my friends. And he shut me up for like 5 minutes. And he said, Josh, you need to listen. People at that level compete on having the biggest house. They compete on their kids going to the best schools. And they also compete on making the most money, meaning their lifestyle is always upgrading. And after my 5 minutes of shutting up, I was still quiet because at that point I realized that lifestyle inflation is real. So while you're in your 20s, you can adapt that same mindset and live below your means. Then once you look through your budget, you can still find ways to have fun and live a good lifestyle. All I'm saying is don't make it a habit, because then you'll end up like the executive I was just talking about. Okay, now just take a deep breath, because I just named 5 ways that most people in their 20s feel stuck. And I gave you actionable steps that you can take with you. But drop a comment below, which one of these 5 have stuck with you? But as always, I appreciate you watching. I hope you take care, and I'll see you in the next one.